Hi, I'm Rose, the Senior Games Developer at ITB, and today we're doing a how to play video for StateCraft. StateCraft is a political card game for 1-6 players. Build your political party by recruiting politicians, announcing policies, and winning supporters to become the most powerful party in your democracy. Setup. To start with, choose your scenario card. In the first game, take the democratic election card. This will give you the win condition for the game and the end condition. Once you master the basic game, you can move on and try some of the other scenario cards included in the box. Deal each player a faction leader card, which is placed face up in front of them. Give each player a player board to track their ideology points, budget, and the round number. Then give each player 6 tracker tokens and place them on the 0 spaces on each ideology tracker and the budget, and on round 1 of the round tracker. Choose a first player. They take the incumbent card and place it face up in front of them. Now, deal out the floating pool of supporters according to the number shown on the scenario card. Deal out the supporters face up to the centre of the table and place all the unused supporters back in the box. Then shuffle the politicians deck and place these in the centre of the table. Each player takes 3 cards from the policies and actions deck as their starting hand. Take the events and emergencies deck and place it back in the box for your first game. We'll get to that bit in the advanced setup. How to play. The win condition for each scenario is given on that scenario card. For the democratic election game, the player with the most supporters at the end of the game will win. In order to achieve your objective, players must undertake political maneuvers. In the basic game, there are 3 different types of maneuvers: recruiting politicians, announcing policies, and campaigning for supporters. Announcing policies. To announce a policy from your hand, first choose which side of the card you want to play. Each policy card has 2 contrasting options. Each option has different ideological point and a different effect on your budget. For example, the state media monopoly will give you 1 point to socialism and 1 point to authoritarianism, whilst having 0 cost for your budget. When playing a policy card, you have to have a politician who has the same type of speciality in order to announce it. In this case, you need to have a politician with the infrastructure speciality. After announcing the policy, tuck it under the top of that politician card and adjust your trackers. Alternatively, you can denounce a policy. Denouncing a policy will remove those points from your ideology trackers. When you denounce a policy, tuck it under the bottom of the politician card and remove those points from your ideology tracker. Denouncing a policy has no effect on your budget. Each politician can announce and denounce 3 cards. Recruiting politicians. In order to play different types of policies, you will need to recruit more politicians. To recruit a politician, discard a policy or action card from your hand into the discard pile. Then, draw the number of politicians shown on the scenario card. Place the politicians face up on the table so all of the players can see. Choose one and return the rest of the politicians to the retired discard pile. Each available politician has a specialism, shown in the top left corner of their card. For example, Iris specialises in economic policies, whereas Anatoly specialises in infrastructure and healthcare. There are 2 types of politician, junior and senior. Junior politicians have only 1 specialism. However, they can be played to any empty spot in your cabinet. Senior politicians can only be played to replace a junior politician already in your government. When you play a senior politician, they must match the specialism of the junior politician that you are replacing. You can have up to 5 politicians in your parliament, 2 either side of the faction leader. Claiming supporters. On your turn, you can claim as many supporters as you want from the floating pool in the middle of the table, provided that you satisfy their ideological requirements. For example, government employees require at least 5 points in free market capitalism, at least 1 in authoritarianism, and no more than 5 in anarchism. Once you've claimed a supporter, take it and place it face up beside your player board. When playing policy cards, adjust your budget tracker according to the cost on the card. If playing a policy would mean you had a surplus of over 5 or a deficit of more than -5, you cannot play that policy card. Discarding cards from manifesto. When you discard a card from your manifesto, undo its effects on your ideology and budget trackers. If either of these decks runs out during the course of the game, reshuffle the discard pile and form a new deck. Endgame. When the endgame conditions on your scenario card are met, it's now time to determine the winner. Each scenario has its own win conditions. In the basic scenario, the winner is the player with the most supporters after 8 rounds. Advanced game. In the advanced game, randomly deal out one of the scenario cards to start. Each scenario has different end conditions and win conditions. For example, playing the big state scenario, the scenario will end when all supporters have been claimed, but the winner is the player with the most extreme manifesto. Action cards. When players draw cards from the policies and actions deck, they may pick up an action card. To play an action card, resolve the text on the card and then place it in the discard pile. The advanced game adds the events and emergencies deck. During setup, shuffle this deck and split it into thirds. Add 1/3 to the policies and actions deck for a regular game, 2/3 for a disruptive game, or 3 for a chaotic game. During the game, when a player is drawing from the policy and actions deck, they may end up drawing an events or emergencies card. Event and emergency cards are resolved immediately and affect all players. Events cards offer players a choice. Each player must choose one of the 2 options. For example, in a corruption scandal, each player can choose to lose 1 politician or lose 1 supporter. Some event cards have effects that only affect the incumbent player. They must do these in addition to the regular effects. Emergency cards resolve immediately like event cards, but these do not offer a choice. Players must carry out the effect written on the card. When an event or emergency card is resolved, it is then discarded, and the player who drew it draws another card from the policy and actions deck. Poaching supporters. If your manifesto satisfies a supporter that is currently claimed by an opponent, you can discard cards from your hand in order to claim that supporter. If the supporter is no longer satisfied by your opponent's manifesto, then you can discard 1 card from your hand and claim the supporter, placing it face up in front of you. If that supporter is still satisfied by your opponent's manifesto, then you must discard 2 cards. And that's how to play StateCraft. Like and subscribe for more ITB content, and stay tuned for our upcoming StateCraft playthrough.